The lesson that I had to come up with was interesting because the client that I was working with, I'll just call him Mr. Nick, from Long Island, he's got about 500 students. Last month his gross was $102,000, so here's no amateur. He's got a student value of about $200 per student per month. So what am I going to bring to the table? What am I going to work on with him? What I talked to him about was retention, really improving the experience that his current students were having to increase his revenue. So if we go to the chalkboard here, Mr. Nick had 500 students. Well, I know that on an industry average, the average school will lose 7% of their student body every month. So 7% of 500 is 35 students. Well, he's obviously not average. A good school, their retention rate is going to be much better. So let's just assume that a good school's retention rate is closer to 4%. That would mean he was still going to lose 20 students per month. Well, he wasn't really happy with that. In fact, he gets quite down about the number of students that he loses. But what I explained to Mr. Nick is I said, listen, this is part of the game. This is part of business. You know that you're going to lose this amount of students. But if you're unhappy with that and you really want to improve that, what we need to do is we need to focus on what the problem is. What is the core problem? What is the root of the problem? So what I had him do was get his staff to make a list of quitters. And this is how we did it. What I told him to do was look at his attendance cards, and I wanted him to identify the 7% of his student body that he felt was had the highest likelihood of quitting. So 7% was 35. He needed to make a list. And the goal is to not lose anybody. Is that realistic? No. But if we could really focus on creating that experience for those people that was so special, hopefully we wouldn't lose as many. When somebody quits, it's usually because they've lost that love and feeling, right? They've lost that connection. They don't feel like family anymore. Sometimes it's other things. Sometimes they move away. There's nothing that you can do. But you don't know what the reason is until you identify. So here's what we did. We made a list. Now I'll make a shortened list just for the sake of time here. But let's say one of the people on the list name is Billy. Well, Billy is moving. There's nothing I can do about that. So I'm going to write that down. The next person, let's just call this person Susie. Susie is, her parents are having a hard time getting her to come to class because she's very shy. She doesn't feel comfortable. She doesn't have any other friends there with her yet to make her feel comfortable. So she's very shy and mom's having a hard time getting her to come to class. Our whole staff needs to know what these reasons are in order for us to attack that. Now let's say Dad. Let's call him Bob. Let's say this is an adult and Bob travels a lot, so he's having a problem with attendance, just being able to attend class. So the assignment was to sit down with the staff and identify the list of 35 people and why they had the highest likelihood of quitting. Now what we were going to do from there is come up with ideas or solutions as a team to do an all-out attack on these people, to try to save them, to make them feel good. And if we really focused on that, hopefully we would lose half as many as we normally would because we focused on that great student service. So with Billy, there wasn't really much that we can do here. A nice thing service-wise would be to find out where he's moving and see if we can identify another school that's in his area where he's moving, and you call and you set things up ahead of time for him. That's just a great thing to do. But as far as Susie being shy, well, we need to break the ice a little bit. We need to spend some time with her. So maybe the suggestion is we buddy her up with somebody in class. Maybe we give her a senior student that is going to be there for her and really take an interest in her and make her feel comfortable. Maybe we're going to invite her to a social event. Maybe we're going to throw a free party for her and 10 of her friends to try to draw some interest there and make her feel comfortable and wanted on the floor. Some great ideas, simple, but if we don't do them, it won't make a difference. Now Bob, he's having problems with attendance. So it depends on how bad we want to keep Bob. Maybe what we need to do for him is we need to give him some private lessons to keep him up to speed. Because what will happen is if Bob doesn't attend, Bob doesn't advance. And if Bob doesn't advance and he falls behind the rest of the people in his class, he's not going to feel very good about that. So we might have to do some private lessons with him to keep him up to speed and make him feel special. Some other very basic things that we can do. to make people feel good is as they're coming in the door. Maybe we have some nice little bottles of water that we give them as they're coming in the door, right? That's a first-class experience. Maybe I give them a good job note on the way in the door before they even get into class. Hey Bob, I know I haven't seen you in a while, but I was thinking about training last time. The last time you were in, you just did such a fantastic job on the mitts. Boy, I'll tell you, my shoulder was sore from holding those pads for you, right? So I make him feel very good about his training, a good job note on the way in. Maybe on the way out, I give them a nutrition bar and some sort of hydration type drink. Again, it's a first class experience, just like when you fly from here to there. First class experience is always better than being in coach, and that's the kind of thing that a school with 500 students needs to do, is provide that first class experience. Now, what was the result of all of this? Well, the result from all of this was that I got a text right at the end of the month of December, and Mr. Nick was so excited, because out of the 35 people on average that he would have lost, he only lost 16 for the month. Now the great thing about that was, and I made a big deal of this, right? This became a big victory. What I told him is, I said, that was less than even 4%. 4% would have been 20. So I said, Mr. Nick, you did an absolutely phenomenal job, you and your staff. Not only did you get down to 4%, you actually exceeded that. You did such a great job. I said, man, how many people did you sign up this month? He said, actually, we did pretty good this month. We signed up 29 people. I said, now we're talking, right? 29 people minus 16 that he lost, that means he had a nice net gain of 13 for the month. But I said, think about what actually happened, right? Out of 35 people that the average school would have lost, right? You only lost 16. So if we do the math on that, you're plus 19 from what the average school would do. Now think about what that averages out for tuition. If the average student is worth $200 per month, right? Let's do some math on there. 1,800. You saved $3,800 in revenue. This is an opportunity for you to teach your staff a very important lesson. Now is the time to go back to your staff and reward your staff. I mean, there's a lot of neat things that you could do. You could give them a monetary gift if you wanted to. You could give them some days off, or something that means something to them that's special. And I'll tell you what, if you have 5 staff members, and you went out and you gave each one of them a $100 bill, that's $500. I'll trade $500 every day, all day, for saving $3,800. But that's how we work on getting our staff very retention focused, by getting them to think back about the student. How do we make them feel special, and how do we keep them as part of our family?